The quality of what we consume shapes not just our knowledge, but our future. But what if I told you that the way you see the world isn't entirely yours? Good morning. My name is Kate, and I'm a 9th grader from SWA. And today, I'm here to talk about how media we consume shapes the way we think. At the beginning of 2025, there was a surge in cases of the HMPV virus in China. Almost overnight, social media exploded. People online began drawing comparisons between the year 2025 and the infamous year 2020. Memes and videos circulated, pointing out similarities like the Australian and LA wildfires, both years starting with the same week pattern, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and came to share fear of a new pandemic, dubbing it the COVID-19 2.0. While these originally started as a joke, their influence spread quickly. My mother became genuinely concerned when I got sick at the start of the year. Even my friends expressed anxiety about my illness, linking it to the supposed pandemic resurgence. And tens of billions of reels that they send me every day, this very reel came up with the checkup message. Do you have the Chinese virus? Now, if you guys have seen these posts or have seen similar news before, but are still confused, you're not alone. And here's the reality. HMPV is not new. This virus, causing cold-like symptoms, has been around since 2001. Millions have immunity. It primarily affects infants and the elderly, so for most of us, it's a mild inconvenience, not a pandemic, and definitely not a thing to panic over. In this case, the fear spread not because of the virus itself, but because of the way information was consumed and shared. This is the power and the danger of media, and that's where media literacy comes in. Traditionally, literacy is the ability to read and write, but as we progress into the digital age, being literate means so much more. It now extends into a wider range of abilities, particularly the ability to interpret the information that we receive every single day. Oxford Dictionary defines media literacy as the ability to critically analyze stories presented in the mass media and to determine its accuracy or credibility. Among many new forms of literacy, media literacy is one of the most important ones to possess. Take the recent LA fires. The internet was flooded with images like this, of the Hollywood sign engulfed in flames. Panic spread quite literally like wildfire. People filled comment sections with heartbreak and disbelief, mourning the loss of the iconic landmark. Influencers were posting emotional tributes, frantic debates about how such an event could happen, and of course, the typical GoFundMe links. Donate to help rebuild the Hollywood sign. But amidst the chaos, one thing was overlooked, and that was the Hollywood sign was actually perfectly fine, not a single scratch made. The entire situation was a hoax caused by AI-generated images. Whether the intent was trolling, scamming donations, or simply seeking attention, the consequences were the same, and it was misinformation, fake news. Now put yourself into the shoes of an LA citizen. You're an evacuee. You go online, desperately searching for updates on the fire, just to be bombarded by all of this. Where was the fire spreading? Was it safe to stay? Or should I evacuate to the north or south? Instead of answers, you find complete chaos. Fake news, conflicting reports, and panic. Hesitations in moment of crisis can be the difference between safety and danger. This clear example of how fake news spreads within minutes is not the only one. In a world where fear travels faster than facts, the way we consume information matters more than ever. Whether we realize it or not, our digital habits shape the way we think. To our brain, media is like food. What we consume shapes our mental state, just as how our diet shapes our body. Whilst there are nutrient-dense foods that support our body, there are rich forms of media like books, documentaries, or research papers that fill our mind with valuable knowledge and insight. These are like brain fuel and represent the fruits, proteins, and vitamins of the media world. On the other hand, There's also junk media, clickbait articles or videos, shallow trends, pointless conspiracy theories. These are like sugary snacks and fast food, giving us a quick burst of dopamine, but eventually clog and cloud our brain, leaving it cluttered and overwhelmed. We are now drowning in a sea of information. Seneca the Younger once commented, "The abundance of books is a distraction, and so is information overload." Now, the second I say this, some of you might wonder, how is having access to information a bad thing? Back in the days, this was a privilege that only certain people could have. The problem is not access to data, nor is it the large volume of data. It's the lack of quality control and our inability to filter out what's reliable or not. To put it simply, we are being media illiterate. Following the rise of social media, this situation has only gotten worse. Instead of actively seeking out information, we tend to just trust anything that comes up on our feed, whether it's true or not. 54% of US adults rely on social media for news. But while the younger generation is more skeptical to whatever information they receive, the older generation is disproportionately affected by this new trend. They grew up in a world where news came from trusted sources like newspapers, TV stations, or radio hosts who fact-checked for them. But now, we have to do it all ourselves. Prone to taking in whatever they see, they are now overwhelmed by conflicting voices and opinions, making it nearly impossible to tell what's real or not. And that brings me to my grandpa. Every day, he has never failed to reach the sofa for his 4 p.m. podcast. Pulling out his brand new iPad, he would blast videos made by critics online about US-Chinese relations or the newest state of the Hong Kong economy. 10 minutes into the video, he would proceed to fall asleep as intense background music echoed around the room. In late January, when I went home for Chinese New Year, he asked me where I wanted to study for university. Glad that he was interested in my studies, I told him that I wanted to study abroad, maybe in the US or in the UK. But instead of the reaction that I was expecting, his attitude immediately changed. With a serious expression on his face, he warned me about the dangers of going there. From his research, by which I mean looking through Facebook pages or YouTube videos, people there were stuck scrubbing dishes or mopping floors in a basement after immigrating. Asian students would be mocked, bullied, or completely ignored by other students. They would also allegedly be treated with discrimination and heavy violence. And I quote him, "There was a guy. He was just walking on the streets. Then suddenly, a bunch of people with knives and clenched fists walked up to him. You know what will happen." Now, hearing his allusions, I tried to tell him that it's not true. People online spin lies like spider weaving webs, exaggerating every single word they say. But no matter what I said, he wouldn't listen. The number of people agreeing with him online outweighed my words, as he had fallen into an echo chamber. An echo chamber describes an environment where people continuously encounter information that reinforces their own beliefs while excluding all other ones. If you have been seeing the same content over and over again in social media, you might be trapped in one too. At first, these seem like safe spaces for us, like a caring community that understands our needs and agrees with us. But as we progress, they trap us into a cycle of confirmation bias. The longer we spend in these spaces, the harder it becomes to question our assumptions and beliefs. From research, users are clustered according to standings in controversial topics like gun control, vaccination, or abortion. Grouping people by their beliefs makes their views more extreme. They will also sort people based on ethnicity, gender, or culture, feeding them content that reinforces stereotypes. Like my grandpa's example, the algorithm sorted him into the grumpy, biased Asian grandpa category. This creates a great disconnection between online communities and societies, and the impact is devastating. The lack of effective regulations in the digital world makes us individually responsible for not only the content that we consume, but the ones that we choose to create and pass on. Due to human behavior, the spread of fake news has swayed elections, fueled conspiracy theories, and has even led to violence. Recall the Pizzagate incident, where a man, convinced that he was uncovering a secret crime ring, stormed a pizzeria in Washington, D.C. with an AR-15. Health myths like vaccines cause autism, or if the food drops less than 5 minutes, it's perfectly safe to eat. They spread even faster than peer-reviewed science. If you guys have heard of these before, let me tell you that it's not true. Completely not true. So, what can we do to combat this situation? We can all contribute by practicing media literacy. Every piece of media is designed with a purpose, either to provoke, persuade, inform, or manipulate. Before you accept what you see and hear, ask yourself a few questions. What information is being conveyed? What does the author want us to feel? What message is being delivered? And most importantly, what action is it provoking me to take? Asking these questions is a simple yet powerful habit. It's as easy as taking a few minutes out of your time to go online and search up. When fake news is deliberately created, certain information is always left out of the story. And not all news sources can leave out the same information. Before hitting the share button, just pause and take a second to dig deeper. By stopping to reflect and confirm, we can end the cycle of misinformation. With so much digital content on our hands, it's easy to take in anything we see, like an all-you-can-eat buffet. But if we're not careful, we risk filling our minds with empty calories. Being media literate means learning to filter out information that we consume, choosing content that informs and inspires while avoiding the mental junk that does more harm than good. Every time we prioritize ourselves over convenience, we take back control. Because in the end, the quality of what we consume shapes not just our knowledge, but our future. Thank you.